Welcome to today's edition of the Lindsay Elmore Show. Today, I will be talking with Dr. Kathy Gruver. She is a PhD who helps people to conquer stress at work and discover workplace wellness and to really manage their stress. We talk a lot about hypnotherapy and how there is a perception of what hypnosis is that is not exactly what hypnosis is. After that, I share some of my favorite nutraceuticals. Those are supplements, vitamins, and minerals that can help to resolve the stress and anxiety response that so many of us are plagued with in our daily lives. Let's get to the show. Welcome to the Lindsay Elmore Show, a podcast that helps you find fulfillment amidst chaos. On this show, I interview thought leaders, doctors, creatives, spiritual gurus, and game changers who inspire you to pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Dr. Kathy Gruver has a PhD in natural health and has studied the mind-body medicine connection at the famed Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine at Harvard. She is a 12-time award-winning author of 7 books, including Conquer Your Stress, Workplace Wellness, Conquer Your Stress at Work, and The Journey of Healing. Through a combination of humor, performance, background, real-life experience, and formal education, she helps people discover their optimal mindset, how to keep their ego at bay, and how to communicate clearly. She is a well-sought-after speaker, and in 2015 had the privilege of creating a stress reduction program for the United States military. She has been studying psychology and human behavior her entire life. And in addition to being a coach, she is a hypnotherapist and massage therapist. And in today's conversation, we talk about the power of hypnotherapy to change our mindset and how we have just incorrect perceptions about what hypnotherapy is, what meditation is, and how we can better reduce stress in our everyday lives. Dr. Kathy Gruver, welcome to the Lindsay Elmore Show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk to you as well because you have been all over the world teaching people about stress and about mindfulness, about hypnosis, about how we can be more conscious human beings. So give us a little bit of your background and tell us how you went from getting a PhD to encouraging people to live stress-free lives.
Yeah, boy, it was not a straight line. It was one of those follow the breadcrumbs. I started here and wove all the way through to there. I was a theater major because, that says so much about stress reduction.
Clearly.
And I sort of accidentally apprenticed with a woman who taught me massage.
Uh-huh.
Pretty darn good at it. And so when I moved to California from Pittsburgh, I thought, oh, perfect. I'll have this massage practice that I can, do in addition to these award-winning film roles that I'm going to be getting. And the film roles never came, but the massage stuck. So
nice.
Been doing massage for over 30 years, which is crazy because, I'm only 36.
Yeah.
And I moved that into Reiki and hypnosis and decided I wanted to go back to school. And so I got my degree as a traditional naturopath. And then I realized the school also had a program to do master's and PhD. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, I'm reading these books anyway. I might as well do this program. I'm a lifetime learner. If it was up to me, I would be in school forever. And so, studied that. And when I got to pick my topic for my dissertation, all the mind-body courses really stood out to me, all the stress reduction stuff that I had learned. And so that's what I did my dissertation on. And that sort of launched me into this combining massage with the stress reduction. I've been playing with hypnosis since I was a kid. I was that one in college that was hypnotizing their friends and not partying. And so I kept incorporating things, and now I do coaching, and I've been lecturing around the world, and I'm working on my 8th book right now. And so it just sort of unfolded in front of me, and I said yes to things. So here I am.
Yeah. Okay, so I think a lot of people are okay with the idea of meditation. They're okay with the idea of like, how do I become more conscious? How do I, some people are like, all right, maybe Reiki, this energy healing is a thing. But then you totally go off the deep end with a lot of people when you come to hypnosis. So give us a definition of what hypnosis really is beyond like the magician, the mentalist on stage kind of persona. What really is hypnosis?
Yeah, hypnosis is a really natural state for us. I guarantee everybody that's listening or watching to this has been hypnotized at some point in their lives. When you're driving on the freeway and you suddenly go, oh, geez, did I pass my exit? Where am I? I don't recognize that tree. That's hypnosis. When you're reading a book and you realize you've turned 4 pages but have no bloody idea what you read, your eyes are moving but nothing's computing, that's hypnosis. Hypnosis is a really deep state of relaxation where we can tap directly into that subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good. We like it. We're in total control while we're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's used to really make deep and positive changes that things like, I'm all about talk therapy. I love it. Did it. But you show up and you talk about your mom and then you leave, and then you show up the next week and you talk about your mom and you leave, and you show up and you talk about your mom and you leave. Hypnosis goes straight to that subconscious to change those things so you don't have to keep talking about it.
Right.
Long-lasting permanent change. It's pretty incredible.
So I liked one thing you said is that you're totally in charge of your hypnotic experience. So how does this differ from sleep, where we're also in a deep state of relaxation, but we're kind of out of control? We're in a very vulnerable state when we're asleep. How does hypnosis, how does your brain function happen differently in the two different states?
Yeah, so it's a different level of brain waves, and I have friends who are brain people who can explain that so much better than me. That sort of half awake, half asleep state, right before you fall asleep, that's what hypnosis is. You will hear everything I say, and it's so funny because I brought a couple clients out of hypnosis, and they kind of look over at me from the magic chair, and they go, "I don't think it worked." And I said, and they go, "I could hear you." And I said, "Yeah, I didn't drug you. I want you to hear me," because I'm taking them through visualizations. I'm asking them to picture things or to hear things or to experience things. And if your sound is, and I've also had people fall asleep where I'm like, eyes wide awake, fall, and they're like, "Wow, did you lose me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I lost you." Does it still work? Some people say yes, some people say no. I want my clients to be relaxed and heavy and sleepy, but not like a light, and I can't give you any suggestion that you wouldn't do outside of hypnosis. Excuse me. If I say, run down State Street, take your clothes off and go, blah, unless you would do that in your normal waking life, I can't make you do that under hypnosis. You can't get trapped in hypnosis. You're not going to do evil things under hypnosis. You're not going to give me your PIN number and give me all your money. The stage stuff that you see is real.
Yeah.
It is real. We love those people. They're called somnambulists. They go in very deep. They're very suggestible, and they're doing all that stuff willingly.
Okay.
They're having fun.
So not the practitioner, like the who wants to be hypnotized, the person that raises their hand, they're called somnambulists?
Somnambulists. Well, the people who volunteer might just be, crazy people at the state fair that want to have fun, which is great. People who go into hypnosis very quickly and deeply and are very suggestible, we call them somnambulists. So there's typically 2 ways the stage hypnosis do it. Either they say, "Who wants to be hypnotized?" And then if you watch, they sort of type the people out as they go. Or the hypnotherapist, the hypnotist, will ask the audience to do something.
Okay.
Maybe magnetic fingers, maybe it's heavy light where you notice your hands moving, and they're looking through the audience to see who's good at this. We're going to pick those people. If it's, my dad who's sitting there going, and nothing moves, they're not going to pick him. They want people that are going to be fun, that are going to be into the show, and they're going to put on a good performance.
Right.
So that is real hypnosis. There's a couple hypnosis TV shows right now. That is absolutely true. The more you work with a hypnotherapist, the more suggestible you are to them.
Uh-huh.
So when they go sleep and you see the person drop, they've been conditioned for that. That's a process.
Right.
Uh, but it's real. I mean, I've watched it happen and I've worked with it for years. So it's good stuff.
But they do that under the knowledge that their therapist is there to protect them, to guide them with ease. This is not something like if somebody just is an expert hypnotist and walks to me and I've just gotten in my car outside of the grocery store and they say, go to sleep. I'm gonna be like, who the hell are you? Get away from me. It doesn't matter how good their hypnosis is, right?
There is something called rapid and instant inductions.
Oh,
Where you can,
snap. Okay, tell me about it. Tell me all about it. I want to hear.
there's one called it's a handshake thing where you put out your hand to shake it, and when the hands meet, you kind of pull it and jerk them down, and they are gone. They drop right into hypnosis. Hypnosis is a deep state of relaxation, but it often comes from like lots of stimulus.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I mean, think about Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Think about slot machines. All the lights, all the sounds, all the sensations, and you're just sitting there going push, 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 push. You're
Right. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
hypnotized. So, it's either they can drop you in really quick with what's called a shock induction, where you're just having a really good conversation. All of a sudden they go sleep and they like scream and they jerk your arm and you are gone because your brain suddenly goes, holy crap, what was that?
Yeah.
And it just stops. Or it's this slow, you're walking down a staircase and, it's getting heavy and you feel your feet getting heavier and you feel this breeze around there's multiple ways to get people in.
Yeah.
I don't do any of the shock inductions. I
Yeah.
don't like it. It's my style.
Yeah.
I'm a little more gentle with it. I know how to do it. I don't like to, but in hypnotherapy conferences, you're just walking over people that have been dropped to the floor in hypnosis. It's hilarious.
this
It's fun
oh my gosh.
all there willingly, so.
Yeah, they're there willingly because, if you're really into hypnotherapy and then you're at a hypnotherapy conference and somebody's like, do you want me to just, speed hypnotize you? You're like, yeah, been there, done that. So, okay, so make this real for us. Like, are there real health benefits of hypnosis? Like, why has this become such a beloved healing modality when really a lot of people think of it as witchcraft and it's for fun, it's for the state fair, as you said, all of those things? What is the tradition of hypnosis? Who envisioned it? How did it originally come into play? And what are the benefits that people who go through hypnosis can experience?
Yeah, well, even the psychologists used to hypnotize people. Freud used hypnosis. They credit it with Mesmer. He was doing more mesmerism, this sort of animal magnetism thing, which is similar, but not really. You get into the modern day and you've got people like Dave Elmore, and he's one of the big guys in hypnosis. He actually has a whole induction, the Dave Elmore induction, which a lot of us use. There's Esdale and this Esdale state. And I mean, I could toss names out all over the place. The point of it, though, the important thing to remember is if we want to make changes, we say we want to make changes. I want to quit smoking. Okay, well, then quit. Well, I can't. Okay, there's something in your subconscious that's saying you don't want to quit.
Right.
Maybe you think on some level it's stress reduction for you. You think you're cool. It was an escape. It's a chance to get out of the office. It's a chance to get away from people. I got to go smoke, and you can leave that social situation.
Mm-hmm.
There's something keeping you smoking because if you wanted to quit, you'd just quit. So let's get into that subconscious and let's make those changes so that it is not ruling you. 12% of our decisions are made from our conscious mind. 88% of our decisions are made from our subconscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
where those knowns and those unknowns are. That, when you were a little kid, a dog runs at you, you're like, puppy, and it jumps on you, you hit your head, you end up with a concussion. From that point on, you've been terrified of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
You're now an adult. It's not the same dog.
Right.
Not every dog's going to hurt you.
Yep.
But yet you have this fear of dogs. Let's go into the subconscious and let's change that so that your kid can get a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Quit smoking. Smoking and weight loss are the two most popular things we do. Those are two things I don't do.
Yeah.
It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I love doing pre and post-op hypnosis. You can do pre-operation hypnosis where you speed healing, you make the surgery go better. I had a woman that had open heart surgery. Her doctor was blown away, full chest spreading, open heart surgery,
The whole
valve
thing.
replacement. She used less anesthesia. She had zero pain after her surgery. I literally had people call me and go, "Oh my God, I have zero pain." I'm like, I know. Hypnosis is incredible. It's great for birthing. I know before we got on the air, you said you have a friend that does hypnobirthing.
Yeah.
Beautiful childbirth.
Yeah.
Anxieties, fears, phobias, public speaking terrifies you. I can help you through that.
Now's your moment to get on stage.
Right. Airplanes, claustrophobia, anything like that. I had a woman that couldn't drive 15 miles outside of her home base without what she defined as sheer panic. I don't know that I've ever experienced sheer panic, but for her, driving a certain distance put her in sheer panic. She had a job to go do in another state where she was going to clock about 600 miles in a couple days.
Oh, wow.
One session of hypnosis got to the root of the problem, figured it out. She went on this business trip, got stuck in a rainstorm, got lost, car broke down. No panic. She just handled it.
Yeah.
So we have the ability to make these amazing changes, and hypnosis is one of many great tools that can help you get there.
So thinking about your lady who was terrified of driving, you find that place in the subconscious. I think a lot of adults are pretty good at that. They remember the memory. They remember that traumatic experience of banging their head. For me, it was a Pomeranian that chased me at the age of 3, and I still don't like Pomeranians to this day. Even though I can be around them and I've consciously come to that, that's not the same dog, all the things, those things stick with you. But when you get down in there, a lot of the times your belief, your cellular belief is so strong that if I let this go, every dog I see will bite me, or every Pomeranian I see will chase me, or if I do drive further than this 15 miles, terrible things will happen. How does the shift occur?
Oh, well, it depends on what technique you're using. Sometimes it's a matter of retelling the story. If you're using something like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, you can spin stuff out and you can make the story big and make the story small and get rid of the story. There's so many different techniques for that. If you can put someone in a deep state of relaxation and they realize that they can bring up that anxiety and then replace it with that relaxation, sometimes that works. There's so many different techniques. It would depend on what their story is, and sometimes you don't even need to know what it is.
Yeah.
Some people they have a fear of flying and they have no idea why. So it's not the very clear memory of, oh, that stupid Pomeranian chased me down the street. They just one day go, I'm terrified to fly. No turbulence, no car accident, no plane crash, no nothing. They just one day don't know why they're suddenly afraid of small spaces, or they don't know why they're afraid to drive on that curvy mountain road. They don't know, and we don't have to know. We can still shift that unconscious belief without knowing what the story is. And that's great, because if you went through massive trauma, if you went through sexual assault or war, or I don't want to bring that up. I'm not going on a fishing expedition to see which uncle touched you funny.
Yeah.
You don't need to know. I don't want to bring that up. It's buried for a reason. Doesn't mean we can't heal that part of that subconscious.
Yeah. Okay. So you talk a lot. You have a podcast called the Fire and Earth Podcast that helps people to overcome stress and their limiting beliefs to help them live their best life. So why is stress so important to you? And how do you recommend that people manage just their daily ongoing stress?
Yeah, that's a great question. Stress is huge right now, especially with everything that's going on in the world. I don't know anybody that's not having some level of stress.
Right.
The original fight or flight response, that thing we learned about in 8th grade biology where, the bear jumps out, we go, ah, and we have this massive chemical response in our bodies. Mm-hmm. That was meant for that. That was meant for the bear jumps out. We have this thing. The bear realizes we're not tasty and it leaves. Everything in our system reverses, goes back to normal, and we rest.
Right.
That is not what happens now. It's not this short-lived dynamic stressor. It's this constant low grade, sometimes high grade level of stress of COVID, and I'm unemployed, and what if my grandmother gets it, and my uncle has Alzheimer's, and my kid failed math, and the cat threw up on the rug, and my husband might leave. And, it's this constant bombardment of stress that's
Yeah.
incredibly bad for our systems. We're not meant to have that all the time.
Right.
And so much of that stress is in our minds. It's the stuff we're dragging around from the past that we're remembering and dwelling on. And it's those what ifs in the future. Because right in this moment, if you think about it or just experience that for 1 second, right in this moment now, there's no stress. The stress is someplace else. It's in the what ifs. Unless you're experiencing physical pain right now, there's no stress in this moment. Even the traffic jam you're sitting in isn't about right now in the traffic jam. It's about where you should have been 10 minutes ago, or where you're supposed to be in 5 and you realize you're going to be late.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, it's your mind thinking about the stress. What if I'm late? What if I miss that meeting? What if I lose the deal because I'm not there? What if I should have been there 5 minutes? I mean, it's those what ifs.
Mm-hmm.
So stress reduction, really the key to it, whether it's breath work, mindfulness, meditation, it's made to keep us in the now. It's made to keep us pushing those thoughts away and staying in this present moment where there's no stress, and we have the ability to respond to what's happening rather than react to what's happening. And that's really the key to it all.
So stress is us worrying about the past and worrying about the future. But I love that you say it has no bearing on the current moment. And so if we can take ourselves out of all the other moments and just be in this one. And so how do you encourage people to do that? I mean, do you encourage them to meditate, or maybe there's affirmations? You mentioned neurolinguistic programming, and how do people, especially right now, I think a lot of people, I saw a New Yorker cartoon this morning, and it was like, I've forgotten, do I work at home or live at work? And so isn't that good? It's so good. And so like putting parameters around the day where at least you have 5 minutes a day where you're not experiencing this absolute chronic stress. What are some of like the basic things that people can do in their everyday lives?
Yeah. I love recommending that people pause. There is such a gift in stillness, and being that we're now surrounded by these devices, we don't have to have stillness. I remember standing in line at the post office, when we could leave the house, and just being still and just, looking at the line and going, oh, this is going to take a while. Okay. And I would look around and I would observe my environment, and I would sort of make it a mindfulness practice of, oh my God, that's such a cool sign. Look at that lettering and the way the light glints off the edge of that sign. And I can get lost in a sign. Now we don't have to do that because we're immediately on our phone. Oh, well, there's a new cat video, and I wonder what's happening on Instagram. And oh, what did the president tweet today? And there's all this other stuff to occupy ourselves so that we don't have to be still with ourselves. And I say all the time, it's like when we rent a car, we walk around that car and we look at every inch of that car to see if there's a scratch, a ding, a paint chip, because we're not paying for that.
Right.
But we don't ever look at ourselves. We don't know what hurts. We don't know, how long's your shoulder hurt? I don't know. We have no idea because we haven't stopped for any amount of time and looked. Now, this is a vast generalization. There are people that meditate daily and do body scans to check in on themselves. Stress is a perception that demands are going to exceed our resources. It's that feeling of a threat. It's a feeling of a threat. And so I ask myself, I pause and I ask myself, is that fight or flight worthy? Is my client saying, I really need to talk to you on Monday? Is that fight or flight worthy? Is the guy cutting me off on the freeway fight or flight worthy? Is that worth me mounting this gigantic response and upsetting myself and my systems because he cut me off? Do I need to yell and scream and flip him off and then tell the story for the next 25 minutes to everybody I meet?
Right. Well, or for someone like me, it gets even to that point of, does it really matter if I respond to that comment or if I respond to that message of someone telling me you're wrong, you're this? And it's like, well, you wouldn't even know who I am if it wasn't for this artificial construct that we have built. And so I have found so much peace in just ignoring, and it's hard because the way I am built is I want to respond. I want to tell people like, your science doesn't make sense, like I want people to understand that like, no, there's real meaning behind stress reduction and sleeping well and the words that we speak to one another and the words that we speak to ourselves. There's power in relaxation, and the power goes well beyond just one body system or one this or one that. So we were talking earlier and you said, hypnosis is a lot about visualization. And I loved what you said about meditation a moment ago, because it reminds me of an acting exercise where your whole job in this exercise is simply to observe what your partner in the scene is doing. Because so often we're listening to people talk and we're like, well, I gotta know how I'm gonna respond to what they say next. And so we don't listen. We get that vacant stare where we pretend we're listening, and the phones make it 1,000 times worse because we're like, no, I'm paying attention to you. And it's like, no, you're not. And so if they say, well, I'm terrible at meditation or I'm terrible at visualization, and they say, I tried to observe my colleague for 20 minutes while we were in a meeting together, what can shift in their own self-awareness, as well as what are the shifts that happen in other people when they really realize this person is actually listening to me. They're actually observing what I'm telling them. How does that enhance communications? What happens in our human psyche when we actually listen to each other?
Huge. Oh my gosh. Leadership, relationships, misunderstandings go out the window. And is there anything that makes you feel more special than someone hanging on your every word with such curiosity and interest?
Mm-hmm.
We want to feel listened to. Mm-hmm. And I see this so much, especially in couples, because we've been together 20 years and I know what you're going to say because you tell that same story all the time. And I'm sure I know how you're going to end that sentence. And I'm thinking about, oh, you know what? If you shut up, I have a joke. It goes with that thing you said 5 minutes ago. And I'm going to, and bacon. We need to get bacon at the store. We're everywhere other than right there. And my ex-husband called me on that one day. He started a sentence. And before he finished it, I went, yeah. Because I was sure I knew what he was going to say. And he went, really? What was I going to say? I'm like, crap, I don't actually know.
Yeah.
He told me on that. When I teach communication, it is about, there's 3 levels of listening. There's first level listening, which is what's going on with me? How does this affect me? This chair is uncomfortable and there's this weird smell. And oh yeah, I'm sort of listening to them.
Right.
There's second level listening, which is fully focused on them. And we have amazing brains. You don't have to actually think about what I'm saying right now. Like there's not words you don't understand. It's pretty, so you can just listen and not have to think. Then there's third level listening, which is global, which is what's happening with this group, what's happening with me and them and this space. So if you're in a business meeting where there's a bunch of people interacting, you're aware that the person you're talking to is listening to you. You're also aware that Joe's in the corner going, mm-hmm. You're aware that there's the hum of this thing. You're aware someone's stomach growled. You can take all that stuff into account and adjust your communication from there. Mm-hmm. But if we would just listen to people and be present with them, fully present with them, misunderstandings and that reactivity and that misinterpretation, for the most part, would go out the window. Mm-hmm. We're distracted, and I totally get it. Focusing on someone 100% is really tough. It does take practice. Start in little chunks. Right. I love doing gazing. It is one of my favorite activities. Eckhart Tolle loves gazing. He talks about it all the time. It's simply about meeting someone's eyes in total silence without thought. Now, you have to make sure you don't go below thought, which is that
right.
Kind of it's above thought. It's literally just staring at someone in the eyes for a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever. My boyfriend and I do gazing all the time. It is such a beautiful activity because it reconnects us. Mm-hmm. He had done it he had been on a trip where he didn't sleep much and I didn't get to talk to him much. And when he came back, I said, I feel like we're really not connected.
Yeah.
Can we do a couple minutes of gazing? He's like, absolutely. And we just had that connection for 5 minutes. And then I was like, okay, I feel like we're kind of back here. It's that control-alt-delete of connection with people.
Oh, love that.
It's so good. Can I give another communication tip?
Please, yes.
So I love CNN. Other than my totally unnatural crush on Anderson Cooper, I love watching the guests that they have on. These pundits that talk. Not because of what they're going to say, but how they're going to say it. So the host will ask them a question, and they often start with one of two things. They'll either say, look, blah, 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 or they'll say, listen, blah, 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 blah. They have immediately given you a hint as to what kind of communicator they are. I am a visual kinesthetic learner and communicator because I'm gesticulating, I'm altering the way my voice is, da, da, da. If you play an audiobook for me, all I hear is, meh. I mean, like, you might as well just play white noise. I'm not getting it.
Right.
I don't like watching a symphony. What the heck am I watching? It's not active enough for me visually. I'm zoned out into 5 million other things. Dance show, I'm right there with you. Visual kinesthetic. My father was a visual kinesthetic. The two of us trying to explain things on the phone to each other was hilarious because I'm like, to do this stretch, and you're like, I've got the phone in my ear, and I'm like, okay, take your thumb and put it. I couldn't explain it to him. Can I send you pictures? Whereas my ex-husband was auditory. So I would go to example something for him, and I'd stand up and I'm acting it out, and he's like, okay, can you just tell me? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, I can't. I actually cannot.
That's how I work. So if you know the communication style of the person that you were trying to get something done with, match that communication style. If you need to have a meeting with your boss and you know he or she is a visual kinesthetic, get in front of them in their office. If you know they're an auditory, maybe you call them. If they're visual, they're going to be more apt to do a text than a voicemail. It's like, base your communication style on who you are communicating with. You're going to get so much more done if you can match that. You're going to build rapport with that person. There's a whole bunch of other steps to that, but that's just one of those things that if you want to be a better communicator, really listen on that second level listening, match their communication style, have that rapport with them. You're going to get so much more done.
I love the idea of adapting the way that you communicate with different people. So you've said auditory and then you've said visual kinesthetic. Are there other ways that people learn, or are these the two primary ways that people learn? Does everybody fall into one of these two boxes? And what would I look out for to know, or what would I listen out for? I guess I've already given you a clue. What would I listen out for to know that someone is wanting this style of communication versus that one?
Yeah, so those are actually three. So there's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. I'm a visual kinesthetic, so I kind of threw those two together. So those are the three. Typically, people are either auditory or visual, and you can tell by the words that they use. Oh, I hear you. Oh, I totally feel what's going on. That's a kinesthetic. You can tell by their language. You can also tell sort of by their body language is how they talk and move. Visual people are going to be much more acted outy. Also kinesthetic thing. Auditory is typically, and not always, of course, typically a little more subdued in their physicality of it because they're listening. They don't need their body to move, they're listening. There's also, gustatory and olfactory. Very few people learn that way. That might be their strongest sense in that you smell those cookies and you're like, oh, grandma.
Right. The memories.
You're not, I smell you. That's typically not a way we communicate.
Right.
So yeah, it's really the auditory and the visual are the two that you want to look out for. And then of course you have your direct communicators and your indirect communicators. And that can also cause huge problems. I'm a very direct communicator. I want to email you and say, yes, 2:30 works. And I'll have to remind myself, I should probably start with, hey, hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a good day. 2:30 is great. I'm sometimes so direct that people are like, whoa, do you want to say hi? I'm one to dive right into business. You're nodding your head. You're probably the same way.
This is me.
Yep. Beautiful. And you and I, our emails, how about 4? Does 4:45 work? I mean, I love that.
Right. It would take us literally 3 seconds to come to an agreement on when to have a meeting. Or if we had a difficult task in front of us, I have a feeling that you and we could weigh the pros and cons, and then it would be like option A, option B. Let's go with B. Great. B works. And we wouldn't agonize over that. It's just, yeah, I am a direct person. And it does, when you have those indirect people in your life that are just like, go in here, go in there. And sometimes I'll just stop people and be like, I'm sorry, do you have a question? Like, what is your question? Do you have a question for me? And it does, it throws people sometimes because there's like, oh, she was mean to me. And it's like, no, I'm not being mean to you. My mental capacity does not make space for all the ancillary stuff. All the ancillary stuff that's happening. One of my yoga teachers used to do it, and he'd say, okay, well, everyone, I'm going to open up the room for questions. And somebody would raise their hand and they'll be like, well, about 3 years ago, this happened to me and that. And he'd be like, excuse me, what is your question? And then she'd be like, well, and then this happened. And he said, no, you don't know your question. And I think for those of us who are really direct, that we just want to know what is the bottom line? What do you need from me? And I am more than happy to give you that thing. And so, yes, I totally hear you. And okay, but so we have those indirect and direct conversants. And so how do we bend to be more malleable so that we don't come across as alienating? Or those of you that love your meandering stories, friends, how do you not come off as if you're just dragging out the punchline for another minute or two?
Right. And I love that you said, these agonizing conversations. Oh, that you're a direct communicator, and you're aware that the indirect people drive you crazy, as they do me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it on you. You gotta morph to them.
I know.
You don't have to let them have a half-hour story. And what I have found, because I've had clients who they finish their massage, they finish their coaching, hypnosis, whatever it is, and they stay seated and they're like, oh, so you know what? And they clearly want to have some long rambling conversation. And I'm like, tick, tick, tick. I have to pee. I have to respond to emails. I have to change everything out. And I have another client coming. And so I lean forward and I say, you know what? I am so interested in what you're saying. I really want to hear the story about your neighbor and his cat. Fascinating. I'm being sarcastic. But I've actually got to run. Why don't we pick this up next time?
Mm-hmm.
They feel heard. They understand why you want to cut the conversation. And they go, oh my God, oh, totally. Because they don't want to keep you. They really don't. Does anybody come back 2 weeks later and go, oh, so I was telling you about my neighbor and his cat? Not one. Now, if it's just you and me and we're emailing, I will probably just say, how about 2? 2 is great, fabulous. If I get the hint that you're an indirect communicator, I will pad my answer back to you. So I remember so clearly, I texted a woman and said, how does 4 o'clock work for you? And I see the text come in. I'm like, oh, holy crap. Okay. It was, 4 is not going to work because I have to take my dog to the vet because every year he rolls around in these brambles where they're not really brambles. They're more like burrs, and he's a long-haired show dog. So I have to take him to the groomer, which is at the vet. And I couldn't get an appointment except for 4:15 on that. And I get the whole backstory.
I'm twitching I am literally twitching right now.
I want to just tell me, does 4 o'clock work? I don't need the backstory. She needs to tell me in order to be heard and validated. She needs to tell me that whole long story. I read whole long story-ish. I got to the end and I wanted to simply say, whatever, how about 4:30?
Right.
I know that is not going to build rapport. That is going to break rapport. And I want to keep rapport with the people in my life. So I wrote back, sorry to hear about your dog. We do love our pets, don't we? How about 4:30? Would that give you enough time? So I acknowledged that I heard her. I gave her a little bit of, here's some indirect nicety to go along with that. And then I got to my point. For the indirect people who want to correspond with us direct people, shorten the story, bullet point it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client who She said, look, my boss is a very direct communicator. He's expressed to me that don't waste my time. I don't like questions, but I have to ask him questions. And I said, you absolutely do. I said, can I suggest? She said, absolutely. And when I'm coaching, I typically don't suggest, but I had a good idea for this one.
Sure.
I said, tell him you have 3 questions that will take 5 minutes. Have it written out and bullet pointed, turn a freaking timer on, do it in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Ask the question, listen to his answer, clarify if you need to, and then move on.
Yes.
You're make him the happiest boss in the world.
I love it.
So we have to know who we're communicating with. And you need to do that in person. Could you do that on the phone? Could you do that as an email? 2 quick questions. It'll just take a minute. Blah and blah. And be done with it.
And all of you direct communicators out there that get the email that's like, hey, just 2 quick questions, blah and blah. Don't answer yes. That drives me nuts. Like, yes to which? Yes to the, there are limits to direct communication because you can't get the full message across,
And typically that means the person either didn't read it or didn't listen. Because I've done that too. Hey, do you want steak or chicken for dinner? Yeah. Out of dinner? Are we doing surf and turf? Are we having both? Are we having none? Are we fasting tonight? I need a little more info.
Right.
And this is where I think we so get lost on clarifying things. If you don't understand, ask a question. I had a client who I was coaching who was so upset with her boss. She didn't like her boss. Her boss was terrible, blah, 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 blah. She did this report. She turned it into the boss, and the boss turned back to her and said, make it better. And she went, okay, and walked out of the room. And I said, what the hell does make it better mean? She goes, I don't know. I said, well, then how did you do it? She goes, well, I don't know. I just changed some things. And I'm like, how much time did you waste? If I send you to the store and I say, buy me a shirt, you're going to be like, what the heck are you talking? What color, what size, what fabric, what price? Is it for me? Is it for my boyfriend? Is it for the cat?
Right.
I don't know what you want from me. We wouldn't send someone to the store and then be mad at them that they didn't get eggs if we didn't ask them for eggs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really cool. So it's okay to clarify these things. Know what you want, know what your questions are, think about it before you start the conversation. That's the other key to communication is timing. If you're not ready for that conversation, to me and to the people I teach this, it's totally okay to say, wow, you know what? You just threw a lot at me. Let me digest that. Let me process that a little bit. Can we redo this in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Or start to get emotional or angry. Wow. Okay. I'm starting to get upset. I need to process that. I'm going to take a time out. I'm going to walk around the building. I'll be back in 10 minutes and we'll finish this discussion.
And that doesn't bum anybody out. I just yesterday I was on a conference call and they were like, you're going to hate us, but we realize we're not ready to give you this pitch yet. And I was like, well, I'd rather you wait until you are ready. And so they just said, well, can we do this next week? Yep. Sounds great to me. Way better than us doing an hour-long pitch that I then have to be the bad guy because I'm like, hey guys, this isn't done quite yet. It isn't, all the things yet. It actually spares everyone involved if you just say, well, I'm not there. Or especially if you're angry, especially with a spouse or especially with a child, just taking that few seconds to say, this is not a good time for us to talk. And I think that is totally fair. So, well, Dr. Kathy Gruver, before I let you go today, would you be willing to answer some lightning round questions?
Yes.
Okay. What is your number 1 strength?
Humor.
What's the thing you struggle with the most?
Self-care.
What have you been finding fulfilling lately?
Love.
How have you been caring for yourself recently?
Lots of day trips and beach walks.
Oh, good for you. I'm so jelly about that beach walk. I need one of those in my life. I need one. If you could give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Relax. It's not that important.
Yes, just don't sweat the small stuff, kid. I know.
I'm still worried about my permanent record. I swear to God, it's going to come up somewhere.
Oh my God. I still have nightmares to this day that I failed 11th grade math and that my high school diploma, my bachelor's in chemistry, and my doctorate in pharmacy, my postdocs, my board certificate, I still it's gotten less common over like the past 5 years, but seriously, in pharmacy school, it was like every month or so I would have this dream about like they're coming back to get you, that permanent record. I know that thing. I know that feeling. So, what keeps you up at night?
Nothing.
Good for you.
What if in the middle of the night anymore?
Yeah, me neither. I
I
don't.
pee occasionally, but I don't think that keeps me up. It just gets me up.
That just gets you up, gets you out of bed.
And I can go right back to sleep. It's great.
Yeah. What is something that you feel deeply proud of?
Who I've grown into as a person.
Last but not least, God to you is?
All of us.
All of us. Oh, well, it has been so eye-opening to talk to you. I think that so many people are going to gain a mind shift about the power of hypnosis and the way that we can become better communicators. Everybody, please go check out Dr. Kathy Gruver at www.kathygruver.com. That's KATHYGRUVER. She has 7 books that will help you conquer your stress, find workplace wellness, conquer your stress at work, and create your own journey of healing. You can also check out her podcast, the Fire and Earth Podcast. Kathy, thank you so much for being a guest on the Lindsay Elmore Show.
Lizzie, thanks so much for having me. It was a blast.
Taking supplements is challenging, and when there are dozens and dozens of them to choose from, deciding which one to take is difficult, and determining if the combination that you chose to put together is safe and effective and meaningful is even tougher. I have a website dedicated to education about supplements and products from Young Living essential oils, and I have a free download that will ensure that you are choosing your supplements wisely, using them correctly, and not wasting money on supplements that you don't need. To get the free download, head to www.yledclub.com/safe supplements. You'll get a free downloadable book that will ensure that you have the confidence to take all of your supplements with ease. Once again, that's www.yledclub.com/safe supplements. In the fast-paced day and age of right now, so many men, women, teens, and even children suffer from stress, anxiety, and depression. All too often, the knee-jerk reaction is to pop some pills for magic relief, but there are many short and long-term side effects of mood-regulating drugs. Instead, what I want to focus on in this section is nutraceuticals, so herbs, vitamins, minerals that we can use to help mitigate our body stress response and to help us work on stress and anxiety relief from a more natural perspective. The stress response begins in the brain. The brain receives a message from one of our sensory organs. The eyes, the ears, even the nose can sense perceived danger. This sensory information is sent to the amygdala for emotional processing. When the brain perceives danger, the amygdala sends out a distress signal to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is the region of the brain that communicates with the rest of the body via the autonomic nervous system, which includes both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. The sympathetic nervous system it functions like a gas pedal in a car. It can trigger the fight or flight response, providing the body with a burst of energy in response to stress. On the other hand, the parasympathetic nervous system acts like a brake. The parasympathetic nervous system is the way that we calm our body down and say, it's okay, we can rest now because we are not in any imminent danger. When the sympathetic nervous system is activated, it signals the adrenal glands to release epinephrine into the bloodstream. This causes physiological reactions to stressful situations, including increased respiration, heart rate, pulse, and blood pressure. Epinephrine also triggers the release of blood sugar and fats from our temporary storage sites in the body. These nutrients flood the bloodstream, supplying energy to all parts of the body. When the initial epinephrine surge subsides, the hypothalamus activates the HPA axis, and it does so by releasing corticotropin-releasing hormone. This hormone then travels to the pituitary gland and triggers the release of adenocorticotrophic hormone, and this hormone then communicates to your adrenal glands and causes your adrenal glands to release cortisol. Cortisol then ensures that the body stays at high alert even after the stressful situation has passed. So when those stressful situations have really long gone, when they've really toned down and they're no more excitable, our cortisol levels then fall. And the parasympathetic nervous system then puts the brakes on to our body's stress response. That's at least how it is supposed to work. Unfortunately, many people stay within the fight or flight stress pattern. We stay in those patterns because of high stress jobs, trauma, losses, unstable home environments, illnesses, chronic stress, long-term stress, anything that causes us to experience stress on a regular basis instead of just those critical moments when things are at an all-time stressful high. When this happens, cortisol levels remain elevated, and this affects every single body process and can contribute to a slew of health issues. These range from neurological and mood disorders such as weight gain and diabetes. It can also lead to autoimmune disorders, cancer, and heart disease. This is why it is critically important to alleviate stress. Finding healthy outlets to relieve your stress and to process chronic stress can impact your health in more ways than you know. It can actually impact every single body system. So what do we know about nutraceuticals for stress? When we live a stressful lifestyle, whether in the short term or the long term, there are some nutraceuticals that can help your body cope with stress. The best part is that natural products carry fewer side effects. They are generally safer to use, and many can even be used in children who suffer from stress and anxiety. As always, if you are planning on starting a new supplement routine, be sure to check with both your physician and your pharmacist to ensure that you are taking the correct amount, the correct way, and that you don't have any potential drug interactions with the medications that you are currently taking. Let's talk about some specific nutraceuticals for stress. First up, magnesium. Y'all, I love magnesium. I think magnesium is one of the most undervalued minerals out there. Magnesium is an extraordinarily calming mineral. It helps our brains to cope with fear and anxiety and nervousness. We know that when we don't have enough magnesium in our body, symptoms such as paranoia, anxiety, depression, confusion, anger, nervousness, and insomnia may manifest. Magnesium is also very quickly depleted in times of stress. So if you're feeling that you're going through stress, having some profound worries at work, take the time to just take a magnesium supplement each day. The great news is magnesium is very well tolerated. Occasionally it can cause some diarrhea, but it doesn't accumulate over time. So if you happen to take too much of it, you will simply urinate out the excess magnesium on the other end. That said, always use the proper amount according to the labeled doses. The next nutraceutical is 5-HTP or 5-hydroxytryptophan. This is an amino acid that is involved in the production of serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that plays a role in the regulation of mood, as well as helps the brain to handle stress and anxiety. Our bodies readily absorb 5-HTP from an oral dose, and more than 70% of it ends up in the bloodstream. It very easily crosses the blood-brain barrier and is effectively involved in the synthesis of serotonin. Next up, we have ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba is derived from the Chinese ginkgo tree. It contains flavonoids and terpenoids that have strong antioxidant properties, and this may help to slow the progression of age-related diseases. Additionally, research shows that ginkgo biloba can help to inhibit the body's release of cortisol and may be able to tamp down the resulting rise in blood pressure. Next up, passion flower. Passion flower is a climbing shrub that is native to certain tropical parts of the United States. Herbalists have used passion flower for its ability to improve sleep quality and duration. And passion flower has also been used to relieve stress and anxiety. In one study, a natural tincture of passion flower improved stress without any resultant side effects of drowsiness or impairment of job performance. Another study showed that the preoperative administration of passion flower suppressed the body's anxiety before spinal anesthesia without changing any of the psychomotor functions or sedation level or hemodynamics. Next up, we have L-theanine. The alpha brainwave state is a frequency that helps us to calm down when it is necessary, and it also helps to promote feelings of deep relaxation. During a stress response, a phenomenon called alpha blocking may occur. This involves excess beta wave activity without any alpha waves. In one small study, L-theanine increased the body's ability to create alpha frequency waves, especially in patients with severe anxiety and stress. Other small studies show similar results. L-theanine is a naturally occurring amino acid found in green tea, and this indicates that it is not only an affordable and safe method, but maybe something that you can include in your daily wellness routine to help control both acute and chronic stress. Next up, we have inositol, and this is also known as vitamin B8. This is a naturally occurring compound that's necessary for cellular formation, nerve transmission, and fat transport in the body. In order for our bodies to make inositol, we can make it in our bodies, and we can also consume it in our diet from foods like beans, nuts, cantaloupe, and wheat. What this compound does is it serves as a second messenger for cellular signaling in the brain. This means that low levels of this compound may result in a decline in both serotonin and dopamine. In this way, it plays a direct role in stress, depression, and anxiety. And studies have shown that inositol may help people who suffer from anxiety, especially people who suffer from panic attacks. Moreover, the side effect profile of this supplement is generally very, very mild. So if you're suffering from panic attacks, this might be something that you could add in to your dietary regimen by eating more beans, nuts, and cantaloupes, or add into your supplement routine. B vitamins are next. Vitamin deficiencies and micronutrient deficiencies contribute to altered mood states of all kinds. This can be everything from simple stress at work all the way to psychiatric symptoms. And so supplementation may help to improve our perception of our stressed mood. We know that high doses of B vitamins may help to improve mood states. And we also know that when we don't have enough of certain B vitamins, that our blood cannot effectively build itself, which can make us tired and groggy, which then even furthers the stress because you feel like you're not getting enough done throughout the day. Last but not least, let's talk about 2 amino acids, lysine and arginine. Lysine and arginine are amino acids that your body uses to manufacture proteins, hormones, enzymes, and antibodies. When they are taken together, they can help to normalize the stress response. And the combination may help to reduce cortisol levels and act as a mechanism that helps you to relieve stress. That said, nutraceuticals aren't everything when it comes to controlling stress. Remember, eliminating caffeine, meditation, reductions in alcohol, sleep, inhalations of essential oil, journaling, laughing, stabilizing blood sugar, and exercise are also great ways that you can reduce your stress simply by choosing something new to incorporate into your day each and every day. Remember, success in managing stress, success in having a better family, success as being the yogi of your dreams, all of those things. It's not something that's going to happen immediately overnight. There is no magic pill. We all might as well stop looking for it. But if you can include some small things throughout your day, each and every day, from meditation to essential oils, to maybe a magnesium supplement or a 5-HTP supplement, take a moment to create greater calm and relaxation within your day, and it will be a wonderful way that you can combat stress in your daily life. For more information about how nutraceuticals can change your relationship with stress and anxiety, head to lindsayelmore.com/nutraceuticals for stress and anxiety. The Lindsay Elmore Show is written and produced by me, Lindsay Elmore. Show segments are produced by Sue Procco and Kelsey Lorman. Production design, sound design, and editing is by Jive Media. If you have a question about this or any other episode of the podcast, send us an email to hello@lindsayelmoreshow.com. And hey, since you're still here, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And while you're at it, go over and follow us on Instagram @Lindsay Elmore Show. This helps us bring the pod to more people.